The Ravens season has been full of drama, highs and lows. And if you've been following them closely, there's one question that just won't go away. What's going on with the offensive line? I mean, we all know they've got Myles Garrett in a defense that can disrupt any game. But let's be honest, that's no excuse for how the offense has been playing. The struggles have been visible week after week, and it sparked endless debates about whether John Harbaugh is going to make a change. Honestly, the time to shake things up was probably during the bye week. That's something I've said over and over, but here we are, deep into the season, and it looks like the same five are going to keep starting. Harbaugh basically confirmed that in his Monday press conference, and it was a brutal moment for anyone hoping for adjustments. He was asked again about the offensive line, about whether they've improved enough that changes aren't necessary. And his response was short, blunt, and too many fans, almost insulting. He said they're putting the 5 players who are playing the best out there, that's it. That's the logic, no nuance. No acknowledgement of the glaring issues on the field, according to him. The line is playing pretty darn good, and if you've been watching the games closely, you know that's just not true. Watching the Ravens this season, the evidence is all there. You don't need advanced stats to see the line getting pushed around, players missing assignments, and Lamar Jackson having to scramble constantly to save plays. But for Harbaugh, the official narrative seems to be that everything is fine. He even added that of course players can improve, that you evaluate every position play by play, and that there's always room for growth. But let's be honest, these are explanations that sound good on paper but don't change the reality that the line has consistently underperformed. Looking at the numbers from Week 11, the disparities are glaring. In run blocking, and Drew Voorhees had a solid showing, but others like Daniel Fowle were struggling significantly. Pass blocking tells a similar story, with some players posting respectable grades while others, especially Stanley and Fowle, were getting overwhelmed. It's not just one player. There are issues across the unit, yet Harbaugh continues to double down, insisting this group is the best the Ravens can put on the field. That's a tough pill for fans to swallow, especially when you see the quarterback, arguably the most dynamic player in the league, being forced to absorb so much pressure week after week. The conversation isn't just about stats or grades. It's about protecting Lamar and setting the offense up for success. This team has invested so much in him, and yet the offensive line hasn't consistently given him the tools to thrive. And it's not just about a single bad game. Over the course of 11 weeks, patterns emerge. Weaknesses become obvious, and yet the personnel remain largely unchanged. The Ravens have made adjustments in other areas, before defensive tweaks, rotating personnel, but when it comes to the line, it's as if they've decided to hope for improvement instead of forcing it. And while some might argue that continuity on the offensive line is valuable, especially when injuries and chemistry are factors, the reality is that if a unit isn't working, it doesn't matter how long they've been together. There's a point where you have to admit the experiment isn't paying off and make changes. Even if it's a gamble, other teams, even within the Ravens' own history, have done this successfully. You move pieces around, you try different combinations, and sometimes you find a solution that protects your star quarterback and elevates the offense. That hasn't happened here yet, and the reluctance to make adjustments raises legitimate concerns about long-term strategy. It's not that every single play is disastrous. Voorhees has had good moments, Linderbaugh has had solid reps, but the inconsistencies are glaring. Daniel Fowle, in particular, has been a recurring issue, struggling to perform week after week. And when you combine that with other linemen who fluctuate between decent and poor performances, you end up with a scenario where Lamar has to improvise constantly. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, arguably the best at making something out of nothing. But even he shouldn't have to carry the line's shortcomings on his back every week. Watching him scramble, avoid sacks, and extend plays is impressive, but it's not a sustainable way to run an offense. And there's another layer to this. Lamar isn't at 100% physically, between lingering hamstring concerns and knee issues. You have to wonder how much this constant pressure is affecting him. You can see the frustration on his face when plays break down, when he's hit in the pocket, or when receivers aren't where they need to be. But Lamar is fiercely competitive, and it's easy to misinterpret that frustration as negativity or hesitation. In reality, he's a leader, setting an example and pushing through adversity for the team. He expects perfection from himself and demands accountability from those around him. But when the line doesn't give him protection, that standard becomes incredibly difficult to meet. This tension between the coaching staff's commitment to the current 5 starters and the visible struggles on the field has fueled endless discussions among fans and analysts. Some argue that the depth isn't there to make changes, that the options are limited. But even a one-for-one swap could provide a spark, or at least signal that the team is willing to adapt. The comparison to past Ravens adjustments, like those made during the Super Bowl season in 2012, highlights that when the team identified underperforming units, they didn't hesitate to act. They shifted players, made moves, and found ways to improve. So why stick stubbornly to a group that's clearly inconsistent? In essence, it's a mix of philosophy, trust in the players, and perhaps overconfidence in the ability of Lamar to carry the offense. But at some point, hope isn't enough. The offensive line isn't just about statistics. It's about the quarterback's health, the efficiency of the offense, and ultimately, the team's chance to succeed in the playoffs. If opposing defenses continue to penetrate the backfield, exploit weaknesses, and create pressure, the consequences could be severe. And we've already seen glimpses of that this season, with Lamar taking hits, scrambling under duress, and being forced into plays that should never have been necessary. The season is at a critical juncture. The games are getting tougher, and the margin for error is shrinking. While the defense has been a rock, carrying the team through rough patches, and while Lamar's talent can mask deficiencies, relying on those factors alone is risky. The offense needs support from the line, and without meaningful changes or consistent performance, the team could find itself in a difficult position against stronger opponents. Harbaugh's doubling down on this group is a statement, but it's one that leaves fans questioning whether the team is doing right by its quarterback, by the offense, and by the chance to compete at the highest level. Picking up from the struggles with the offensive line, the conversation inevitably shifts to Lamar Jackson himself. After that Week 11 game against Cleveland, former NFL running back Damon Harris raised questions about Lamar, and it sparked a lot of discussion. Harris noted that Lamar looked hesitant, frustrated, and almost timid at times, especially when drives didn't end in touchdowns. He pointed out that Lamar wasn't climbing the pocket or extending plays with his legs as he normally does, and there were visible signs of frustration after every drive. For some, it raised the question, is Lamar Jackson holding back, or is he physically limited now? Let's break that down. Lamar Jackson has always been one of the most competitive athletes you'll ever see, and that intensity is part of what makes him exceptional. When Harris describes him as timid, I think that's a misunderstanding of Lamar's style and mindset. Lamar is methodical. He's calculating, and he's constantly evaluating his own performance in real time. He expects perfection from himself. And when things don't go perfectly, he internalizes it. It's not about being scared or hesitant. It's about being measured, especially when he's dealing with the reality of the hits he's taking behind an inconsistent offensive line. It's impossible to overstate how much Lamar has to adjust every single week. He's facing a defense that's penetrating the backfield before the play even develops. He's dodging rushers, navigating collapsing pockets, and making split-second decisions while still trying to execute design plays. That's not hesitation. That's adaptability under immense pressure. And when you add in his physical recovery coming back from hamstring and knee issues, you have a quarterback who is managing both the mental and physical demands of the game at an elite level. Watching him play under these circumstances should inspire respect, not criticism. Harris's comments, however, do highlight a critical point. When a team's offensive line isn't performing, the quarterback has to compensate, and over time, that takes a toll. Lamar's rushing attempts, sidesteps, and improvisations mask the deficiencies of the line. But it's not a sustainable strategy. Every quarterback has a limit, no matter how talented, and while Lamar has extraordinary durability and skill, asking him to consistently carry the unit is risky. The pressure not only impacts his effectiveness in the moment, but can affect his long-term health and availability, and we've already seen flashes of how vulnerable he is when the line breaks down. The broader issue isn't just Lamar's physical state, it's the messaging from the coaching staff. By publicly declaring that the current defensive line is the best they can field, Harbaugh sets a tone that may discourage other adjustments or experimentation. It's a philosophy rooted in loyalty and continuity, but it risks becoming rigidity when performance doesn't meet expectations. Fans and analysts alike are left to question whether this approach truly serves the team's best interests or if it's putting faith in a formula that hasn't delivered consistent results. From a strategic standpoint, the Ravens are navigating a fine line. On one hand, They have confidence in their starters and the chemistry that comes with continuity on the other. The evidence on the field suggests that changes could enhance protection for Lamar and open up opportunities for the offense. Even subtle adjustments, rotating a guard, shifting a tackle, or bringing in fresh legs for critical matchups can make a significant difference. The decision not to act, therefore, isn't just about loyalty. It has real consequences for game outcomes, player health, and postseason prospects, and that's where the leadership question comes into play. Lamar Jackson is not just the quarterback, he's the offensive centerpiece, the player who defines the team's identity. Protecting him isn't optional, it's essential. Watching him scramble repeatedly, evade defenders, and still produce highlights is thrilling. But it's also a red flag. It's a testament to his talent, but also an indictment of the unit that's supposed to support him. When your star player is forced to improvise constantly, you are putting the entire offense at risk. That risk multiplies when facing higher caliber defenses in the playoffs, where one misstep can end a season. Meanwhile, the narrative around Lamar's frustration and perceived hesitancy oversimplifies what's happening on the field. He's not losing confidence. He's maintaining a competitive edge under incredibly difficult circumstances. He coaches his teammates, guides receivers into position, and motivates the squad even while managing the chaos around him. The visible chin strap adjustments and subtle body language cues aren't signs of fear, they're signs of someone intensely engaged, someone aware of every detail, and someone striving to extract every ounce of potential from a flawed situation. That's leadership, and it's not always flashy or easy to interpret. This season, the Ravens' offensive line has fluctuated between moments of competence and stretches of vulnerability, creating a patchwork effect for Lamar to navigate. Voorhees has had solid performances, Linderbaugh has made plays, but Stanley, Rosenard, and Fowl have all had stretches where they've struggled to maintain consistency. It's not just individual failings. It's the cumulative impact of an inconsistent unit that forces Lamar into constant improvisation. And while he's extraordinary at masking those deficiencies, it's not fair to demand that level of heroics week after week. Looking ahead, the stakes are only going to rise. Postseason matchups are coming, and the Ravens will face teams that won't allow Lamar the same freedom to escape pressure. Every vulnerability in the offensive line will be magnified, and every lapse in protection could turn into a costly play. The question isn't just whether the current group can improve, it's whether the coaching staff will take the necessary steps to ensure Lamar can perform at his peak. If not, the consequences could be severe, both in terms of wins and in terms of player safety. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. A surprising ripple is racing through the NFL, and insiders insist it's more than just idle chatter. According to voices close to the situation, Matthew Stafford has quietly signaled openness to negotiating with the Baltimore Ravens, creating a shockwave that has the Los Angeles Rams scrambling behind closed doors. What began as a whisper in league corridors has evolved into the loudest rumor of the moment, the kind that executives pretend not to hear but can't stop talking about. Sources familiar with both camps describe the development as unexpected, especially given Stafford's prominent role within the Rams' long-term plans. Yet the intrigue coming out of Baltimore appears to have caught his attention. The Ravens, always searching for ways to refine their offensive arsenal, reportedly view Stafford as a potential solution to deepen their quarterback room with elite experience and a proven arm. Whether this is strategic posturing or a genuine pursuit remains the hot topic fueling front office conversations. For the Rams, the mere possibility of losing their veteran signal caller has triggered what one insider labeled controlled panic. While no trade framework has emerged, the idea of Stafford entertaining offers has forced the franchise to reconsider contingencies it hoped to avoid. The situation is said to be fluid, unsettled, and closely guarded. Though the tremors are becoming too large to keep quiet around the league, the rumor has ignited debates about motivation. Is Stafford looking for a fresh challenge? Are the Ravens trying to pressure another team, or is this simply leverage in disguise? Nobody seems to know, but the uncertainty is enough to send ripples through locker rooms, coaching staffs, and front offices alike. What's clear is that the scent of possibility is strong, and where there is smoke in the NFL, the wildfire of speculation is never far behind. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.